So the Kansas City Chiefs' path back to the postseason officially started today, and the roster decisions Brett Veach makes over the next month are going to completely define our season. If we get complacent with our current edge rushing depth or mismanage our available budget, a slow defensive start in September could easily cost this team home field advantage in a brutal AFC. In this video, I'm breaking down the actual facts from day one of Chiefs OTAs, a premier Pro Bowl pass rusher who just hit the trade block, and a familiar wide receiver who just dropped a workout video looking for a return. But what is the exact salary cap loophole that makes a veteran reunion incredibly cheap for the front office? Let's talk about it. So what's going on, everybody? We have a lot of great football info to get into today because the NFL offseason officially hit its next phase. Today was day one of OTAs, and instead of the usual national media speculation, I wanted to give you a clear, informative look at what exactly happened on the field. The headline news, of course, centers around the franchise himself, Patrick freaking Mahomes. He was officially back out there on the football field with his teammates today. Now, according to a live report from ESPN's Nate Taylor on NFL Live, Mahomes did participate in, quote, some form or fashion during the opening practice. Some form or fashion. Better than nothing. So look, smash that like button right now so we can eclipse 400 likes tonight on this video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Now let's talk about what some form or fashion actually means here. It means the coaching and medical staffs are being very smart. Mahomes has been deep in a grueling private rehab process ever since suffering that complex knee injury all the way back in December. The torn ACL, the LCL, all that stuff. The eternal optimism inside Arrowhead has always been that he's targeting Week 1 versus the Denver Broncos on Monday Night Football as a return. So seeing him do any level of on-field work on day one is a massive step in the right direction. Now, some people are wondering why we didn't see a ton of video or immediate clips from practice today. What you're seeing in the background, that's not from today. To be clear, this is just protocol. Teams don't really open up voluntary workouts to the media every single day of OTAs. The Chiefs' standard media availability day for this week, per Pete Sweeney, is going to be scheduled for Thursday. So on Thursday, that's the day the local reporters can actually be on the sidelines, and that's when we're going to get our first real measurable look at how comfortable Patrick Mahomes looks moving around on that knee. So outside of Mahomes, the biggest takeaway from today is the team attendance. Nate Taylor confirmed in that report that the Chiefs had essentially a full attendance for day one. That's pretty big. Remember, these spring sessions are completely voluntary under the CBA. While star players around the league routinely will skip these things due to contract disputes, due to whatever else, Kansas City has zero holdouts here. Everyone showed up to work. That's a positive sign. That says everything about the culture Andy Reid has established here and the culture we have this year. And it's incredibly important because our playbook is famously one of the most mentally demanding systems in the league. Kenneth Walker, hey, let's get to it, baby. Getting the entire roster on the same page today is a quiet but significant win early on in OTAs. So before we move over to the trade market and look at a name that just became available, we need to crown a champion from our weekly drawing from last week. The winner of last week's Zarda BBQ giveaway is Terry Custer. Terry, congratulations, my friend. You've got some elite Kansas City barbecue swag coming from Zarda your way. If you want to win this week's giveaway, which is proudly sponsored again by our partners over at Zarda BBQ, the process is pretty simple. Just drop a like on this video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and leave me a comment down below with your thoughts on today's topics. We're going to review each of those comments, pick a winner at random, and announce it right here next week. So good luck to everybody on this one. So Josh Sweat is on the block. Would the Chiefs make the call? Let's dive into a major national story that broke today over on Bleacher Report and on Pro Football Talk. Jordan Schultz actually reported on X that Arizona Cardinals are actively receiving trade inquiries about the Pro Bowl edge rusher, Josh Sweat. Now, let's keep this completely realistic. I am not saying a trade between the Chiefs and Cardinals is happening for him or that it's even imminent at this point. But knowing how aggressively Brett Veach monitors the market for premium defensive talent, the Chiefs are absolutely a team that could be on the phone making a exploratory call at least. So to understand why Sweat is suddenly available, you have to look at the coaching situation in Arizona. Last season, Sweat signed a massive 4-year, $76.4 million contract there, specifically to play for head coach Jonathan Gannon, who was his defensive coordinator in Philly. But Jonathan Gannon was fired after just 1 year. Now the Cardinals are transitioning to a new staff and a clear roster rebuild. Sweat has been absent from all their voluntary offseason programs so far. He doesn't fit their timeline anymore, really, and they're openly checking on his trade value per sources. If the Chiefs did decide to pursue this, the tape shows why he's worth the call. Even in a chaotic Arizona defense last year, Sweat was highly productive. He posted a career-high 12 sacks in 2025. Over his 8-year career, he's accumulated 55 sacks and 114 QB hits, so he is elite. When you look at his analytic profile on PFF, Sweat consistently grades out as a high-end, high-floor Tier 2 edge defender. His PFF pass rushing grades consistently sit in the high 70s to low 80s, meaning he generates steady pressure even when pure sack numbers vary. Crucially for our defense, he is also a highly disciplined, physical edge setter against the run. That's what Spags loves. He's a true 3-down defensive end, not just a pass rushing specialist. We got that in our Mason Thomas. So what would it actually take to land him trade-wise and money-wise? I'm excited to see the Kansas City Chiefs kick off the 2026 season. And just like you, I'm always looking for the best deal on tickets. Well, look no further. We've partnered with our sponsor today, SeatGeek, to bring you 10% off your next ticket purchase. SeatGeek has over 70,000 events listed, from NHL, MLB, and yes, even the NFL. I used SeatGeek one time to get tickets to go watch the Chiefs absolutely demolish the Jets, and it was a great experience. And because I'm a little bit superstitious, I'm always going to remember that, and I'm always going to want to use SeatGeek to go watch the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code CHIEFEDUP for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code CHIEFEDUP. So make sure you click the link in the description to go download the app and have the code automatically applied to your account so you can use it later. Now back to the show. Well, from a draft capital perspective, Arizona has lost some leverage because the league knows he's absent from workouts and the team is rebuilding. A realistic trade package would likely cost a 2027 third-round pick at least, or potentially a 2026 day 3 pick like a 4th or 5th rounder, paired with a conditional mid-round pick in 2027. The real challenge here is the money. Sweat is on a massive contract. I'm talking big. For the Arizona Cardinals to trade him, they're going to have to absorb a massive dead cap hit from his prorated signing bonus. For the team trading for him, you are taking on his remaining base salary and all of his roster bonuses. The Chiefs operate with very little cap space, meaning for Brett Veach to make this work, he would either need Arizona to convert a big-ass chunk of Sweat's 2026 base salary into a signing bonus before the trade, meaning Arizona would pay that cash as dead money just to secure the draft picks. Or the Chiefs would have to execute a major contract restructure on one of their own veteran deals to fit him under the cap. Now, this is probably likely coming, but if the numbers could align, the schematic fit in Steve Spagnuolo's defense is pretty seamless here. Spags has a specific prototype for his defensive ends. He wants some size, he wants length, and he wants those heavy hands. At 6'5", 265, Sweat is the exact physical mold of a Spags guy. So in a hypothetical scenario where you add him to this roster, he forms a formidable starting tandem opposite of George Karlaftis. That also allows our Mason Thomas to maybe ease into his role in the pass rush rotation instead of having to set the edge and play early downs. That also includes Peter Woods. This would take a little bit of pressure off Felix Anudike-Uzomah coming back off of injury as well, although we're not really set on him anyway. And so with Patrick Mahomes working his way back from that knee injury early in the season, our defense is going to need to be a vice grip while the offense finds its rhythm. A player like Sweat would make that front incredibly deep, for sure, and it's exactly the kind of value move Brett Veach always kind of monitors for. I think the value's there. So that brings us to our final topic today, and it involves a familiar face in Chiefs Kingdom who could provide some proven veteran stability on an incredibly cap-friendly deal. Juju Smith-Schuster posted a workout video of himself today. He was running routes, he was showing off his change of direction, and he was showcasing his health as he prepares for the 2026 season. We talk all the time about how complicated Andy Reid's offensive scheme is for wide receivers. Cyrus Allen is going to have his work cut out for him. So learning the route conversions, the spacing, and developing timing with Patrick Mahomes usually takes a lot of time. That's why veterans who already know the playbook inside and out, they hold genuine value for this coaching staff and Andy Reid, especially when you're trying to build smooth chemistry early in the summer. So let's look back objectively at what Juju delivered during his 2025 campaign with the Chiefs. He functioned as a reliable safety valve over the middle of the field. He isn't that vertical deep threat burner he once was early in his career with Pittsburgh, but he has become a very smart possession receiver who understands exactly how to settle into the open windows of zone coverages. His 2025 regular season stats reflect that role perfectly. 42 catches, 468 yards, 11.1 yards per catch, and he even had 3 touchdowns. But the most telling stat is that 18 of his 42 catches converted a third down. Nearly half the time he caught the ball, he was moving those chains, and he was keeping our offense on the field. That's big. That's exactly the type of situational reliability this team values. So if the Chiefs were to bring Juju back on a 1-year deal for the 2026 season, the contract structure would be a textbook example of salary cap optimization. Because of his age and his specific profile as a possession receiver, his market likely points to a cheap, incentive-heavy prove-it deal. Shout out Prize Picks. Today we're going to jump right in with a couple entries. Today we're going to take Stephen Castle more on 11.5 points, and we're going to take Chet Holmgren more on 27.5 fantasy score. Let's go down here and pick Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's got the demon. That means that's a good one. We're going to take him more. 5.5 assists. We're going to go over and lock this in. If you guys want to follow along during the season, sign up to Prize Picks in the description. Use code HMA and get yourselves following along with @AllChiefedUp so you can piggyback our picks throughout the season. Now back to the show. We're so used to giving those away anyways. So let's break down exactly what the contract would possibly look like on paper. I'm willing to bet the base salary would be about $1.2 million, which is the league standard for a vet minimum with 7+ years of service. To lock it in, you give them a small guaranteed signing bonus, probably around $200K. Then to protect the team's cap, you build a per game active roster bonus totaling about $340 to $350K, which breaks down to $20,000 for every game he is healthy and active on the 53-man roster. That would bring his total base value of the contract to about $1.75 million. But here's where the NFL cap rules work heavily in our favor: the veteran salary benefit. So because this deal uses the minimum salary structure with a low signing bonus, the NFL allows teams to only charge a fraction of it against the cap. So while Juju earns a base value of $1.75 million, his actual hit against the 2026 Chiefs cap would roughly be about $1.35 million. That is incredibly low risk for an experienced receiver at this point. We may need it. Maybe even to make the deal even more attractive for Juju, you could pack the rest of the contract with an additional $1 to $1.5 million in not yet achievable or NLTBE incentives. It pushes that maximum potential value up to about $3.25 million or so. And because these incentives require him to exceed his 2025 stats, they don't count against our current 2026 cap space today. You tie about $500K to him hitting 50 receptions, another $500K for reaching, say, 550, 600 receiving yards, and a final $500K if the Chiefs win the AFC or reach the Super Bowl or something like that, and Juju playing at least 50% of the offensive snaps. And so this type of structure gives Kansas City a low-cost, high-floor depth piece who can step onto the practice field tomorrow and execute the offense pretty flawlessly. So while giving Juju a familiar, high-profile environment to compete for a championship and reset his market value for the following year, seems like a win-win for all sides. So when you look at the big picture of where this team stands on day one of OTAs, it's all about a focused, professional approach. Patrick Mahomes is back on the field, taking his first steps in his rehab progression. The roster showed up with full attendance for voluntary workouts. Brett Veach is in a great position to monitor premium trade pieces like Josh Sweat if the financial logistics ever do make sense. And we have efficient veteran options like Juju Smith-Schuster showcasing their readiness if the team wants to add proven depth. The front office is quietly and methodically putting the pieces together to ensure that this roster is ready to compete at the highest level once again. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me tonight. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments below to get entered into next week's Zarda BBQ giveaway. I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Chiefs.